Welcome to Psyber Conversations, the show where it's okay to agree to disagree. I'm Josh. Today I got Bob, Darin, Heather, Matthew, and we have special guest star Ben coming over from Cinemagle. Hey again, Ben. Good to see you again. Today we are talking about Avengers Infinity War, which came out in 2018 and starred everyone in the freaking MCU. So we got Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch, and I could go on, and I'll spend the next hour talking about everyone who's in it. But I think you get the idea. So we have so much to talk about with this movie because it's such a huge culmination of everything that came up to this point. So I guess I'll let you guys say what you want to say first.
Well, I was going to say that when I think about it compared to the first Avengers movie, I remember when the first Avengers movie came out, I was like, how are they going to give everybody equal screen time? Because, you already had all these big characters. And then suddenly we've got this where you've got the Avengers, we got Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Thor. I mean, everybody and all these, I don't want to call them micro storylines, but everybody's got their own storyline. And then they have to wrap that up and then put it in this gigantic package that's this epic smackdown with Thanos. I mean, I thought it was. I mean, it's a daunting task for anybody to again put that together. I mean, they did it. They did it well with Avengers, and then we had Age of Ultron. I mean, we look at just team up movies with multiple characters in it. But I mean, I thought that that it was they did an amazing job putting that all together into this big epic movie that they put together.
Yeah, lesser people would have made it too much about one character or few characters and they would have left people out. But most of the characters that get pushed to the side aren't that. I mean, the people that come to mind when you think of people who were barely in it are like Mantis and Drax, and they weren't the focus of the story. They were still in it. They had very memorable stuff. Mantis with her mean face, and Drax, well, goes a little borderline too stupid in this movie, which we'll get to, but he's still got some very memorable lines, funny stuff that everyone still remembers. I think that overall they managed to get everyone in it and keep it moving forward. I don't think very many people could have pulled that off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really ratcheted, or they had the plot that kind of self-ratcheted up the tension because you had the 6 Infinity Stones and you had to keep them away from Thanos, period. And they basically just kept failing to do that, and it ratcheted up one more notch and one more notch. I mean, he started off with one of them already. I mean, you can't start heavier than that. I mean, that was
Started off
really
with 2,
good.
didn't he?
2?
No,
Well,
he only
he
had
got
one,
the
but he
second
got
in the
the
first
second one.
scene.
You got the first scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he basically was already capable of beating pretty much everyone just because he had the one stone.
Yeah.
And then he kept getting more and more. And so every scene or every set piece they did to deny him one more stone kept failing. And it was just this cycle of, oh my gosh, this is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it was
and
that ratchet up was
one of those
fantastic.
sort of minor details that they say, but then they don't really mention again, is when he said he got the Power Stone when he decimated Xandar. If you guys remember from your Guardians thing, Xandar was where, where Glenn Close was. And I thought, boy, in the next Avengers movie in 2019, we're going to see that decimation and we're going to see Nova show up and be the one who gets away. And I think it was such a missed opportunity.
It was.
Yeah,
I thought about the same thing. It was just like one of those like, oh yeah, it's been totally destroyed. And it's like, what?
Yeah, then you do
And
a
then it's
flashback in the next movie and you show Nova get out of there. Yeah, but they decided against that. But
yeah.
But
They had
still,
the
talk
Nova
about
core.
playing the long game. Because and I mentioned this before, like I would have loved to get Zack Snyder and hold him with his head here and say, see, this is how it's done. Because, they took, this was almost 10 years. Well, it was 10 years in, right? When did Iron Man came out?
10 years in,
2008, right?
Yeah, 10 years in.
10 years in, and they've been showing us glimpses of the Infinity Stones here and there. Sometimes they were even a centerpiece of the movie because the Tesseract was a big, deal. But, a lot of times they were just kind of minor things that they would mention. but they kept pushing it back, and we got our first glimpse of Thanos all the way back with the first Avengers movie. Although I'm guessing at that time they were still going to make it that he was courting death. Death was a
Yeah.
personification because he actually, what's the guy who was in charge of the alien armies, whatever that guy was. He said like to fight the humans is to court death, and that's when Thanos turned around with this big smile on his face.
But it's interesting how the first part of the MCU, so you have two purposes. The stones were reused twice. They were MacGuffins in the first couple of phases where, the Tesseract is one, the Scepter is one, the Ether is one. And they play a pivotal role in those movies, not as Infinity Stones, but as these MacGuffins. And then later you're like, oh, okay, now Thanos knows what all these things actually are and what's inside of them. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
In the comic books, did they the Infinity Stones in the comic books were just the Infinity Stones? They weren't inside things. They weren't other things in the universe, right? They weren't the Tesseract in the comics. I think one of the most intelligent things they did was take and combine the Infinity Stones with other objects in the Marvel universe that we already kind of knew or had inklings of, like the cosmic cube and the Eye of Agamotto and stuff like that. I think that was absolutely incredible to do that, because that automatically was able to pull in and give an anchor point to well-known characters like Doctor Strange, stuff like that.
Because there's an iteration in the comic where Adam Warlock is basically just the protector of the Infinity Stones. And you're like, okay, well, where is this? Because Adam Warlock is sort of a brother of Thanos, but they didn't really deal with that in the movies. I like the way they do it in the movies better, because like you just said, Darin, and what we said, you get two different complete stories out of the Infinity Stones, the MacGuffin era and then the actual Stone era. So.
Yeah. Matthew, Heather?
No, I love this movie. Any chance I get to rewatch this movie, I love this movie.
So rewatchable.
I think it belongs on the Mount Rushmore of superhero movies, right up there with Priest, Dylan Dog, and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I do believe it's. I think it's one
Superman 4 when wires attack.
No, I do believe it's one of the big 4 superhero movies. I would say this is the best superhero movie of all time. I really like how they married all the, I guess we'll call them MacGuffins, but plot devices from previous movies, and they made it work. It was a risky endeavor, and it paid off. I mean, we saw Justice League fail just the year prior to this movie. I really just, I don't know. I love this movie. I could gush about it.
I maintain what I said before. I think that a part of why Justice League failed is because they tried to do this movie without the setup. And this movie would not have been the movie it was if they didn't have 10 years of movies behind it.
Right.
One for each of the superheroes, more or less, because Black Widow still didn't have her movie, and but each character had their own movies, but they also had several Avengers movies to build up the teamwork between them and the camaraderie and the fight that kind of happened between Steve and Tony. All of this backstory that has happened already, and we see it. Whereas if they had tried to do that with Justice League, if they had actually tried to go further with it, there was nothing. It would have all been tell, not show. And what we got was tell, not show. Justice League had opportunities if they had done 10 years of movie before.
Yeah.
I agree.
Heather, what'd you think?
Yeah, I agree. The foundation of all the movies before leading up to this point made it, it was just enough without being completely overstuffed. I think you did need to have the foundation of those movies, so it's not standalone in any way. I think you really did need to at least be familiar with all these characters coming into the movie. But yeah, every minute was excitement. There was no downtime whatsoever when you're watching this movie. It just keeps going. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah. If I was going to have anything to say negative, and that's a big if, it would just be that anyone who doesn't go back and watch the previous movies, at least with some sort of rudimentary knowledge of who these characters are, they would be completely lost. This isn't.
I don't know about completely lost, but you definitely would be missing half the movie without having that.
There's nuance. You can follow who's good and bad, but you wouldn't get any of the backstory.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's like watching, watching The Two Towers before you watch Fellowship. You know, you would
Right.
be
You
able
get
to
a
figure out who
sense
the
of
good guys.
what has
Yeah,
happened, but you're not getting to see it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
one
agree.
of the things I wanted to go into was we've talked about how everybody has a standalone movie, and not that this is Thanos' standalone movie, but however, his
it
actions
is his
are the
movie.
yeah, this is pretty much his movie. He has his goal. Every time there's a location change, they're all like, "Where is he?" Like at the and not to jump to the very end, but it's like he suddenly appears on Earth, or he's here, or he's that type of thing.
Yeah,
You get an emotional depth to him, and we've talked so much about one-dimensional villains. He is definitely not.
Yeah,
And
absolutely not.
up to this point, we've always seen him in mid or post credits, or like in Guardians of the
like a single
Galaxy.
scene.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a little bit, and so this one just really opens him up, and he's I don't know. I mean, I think you can make an argument for him being kind of the main character. I mean, because he's the
oh
one
yeah,
who moves all the pieces on the board.
yeah. What you said.
This is
The only thing that I would change what you said is it's not his solo movie. Obviously, it's
Right.
not a solo movie, but he is the main character. He is
Yeah, he's the
virtually the
focus. Yeah.
protagonist, almost.
this
You
is
know,
where I have to start gushing about this. I've been holding back for too long. I agree with Matt. This is Mount Rushmore of
oh yeah,
not just comic book movies, but so Bob, as you said, it's sort of a standalone Thanos story to get his motivations. It's also, if you were to watch it just in those scenes, it's also a Guardians of the Galaxy adventure all by itself. It's also sort of a Thor movie all by itself. Like,
Mhm.
I think it was Jeff Ford and Matt Schmidt who edited this movie. Unsung heroes, 100% unsung heroes of this movie. The way they balanced it, the way characters are out of the movie for a long time, the way Spider-Man, Strange, and Iron Man are such an essential part of the big opening action scene, and then they're gone for like 59 until the 59-minute mark. But you didn't think like, where are these characters? So well balanced, and that has a lot to do with the writing as well, and obviously the Russo brothers. But to get that much footage and figure out a way to edit it so that the pacing never feels off is magnificent. I love this movie. I think it's like near perfect when it set out to do a certain something and pulled it off so perfectly. I got to give it so much credit for just, and like you guys said, it's 10 years in. Yeah, we've had solo movies, and the only pushback I'll give is like, okay, yeah, you may be lost if you've never seen anything else, but it's not designed for you to, it's like if you went into Empire Strikes Back with not having seen the other two
not
movies,
having
it's like,
seen A
well,
New Hope.
it's
Yeah,
meant to be sort of a closing chapter or a part one of a closing chapter. So it knows its audience. The box office showed it that it already knew its audience was going to be there. So yeah, the way it jumps right in with the Asgardian ship and the way it lays waste to two characters immediately, you're that's where you're
yeah.
like, oh, so this is what we're doing right now. Okay, like no one's
Oh,
safe, you know?
my daughter was crying before the credits rolled because of Loki.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
I mean,
just
Yeah, I
think
before the
mean,
opening,
everything
before the
across the
opening
I
board.
know he died so many
was close.
times. I think the first time I watched it, I was skeptical. Like, did he really die?
Yeah, Loki. Yeah.
But yeah, they
Well,
made a
again, they
bigger
ruined
deal
that
of it
for
than
us
in
in
the
the next
past.
movie.
So
Yeah.
Well, they had to
Yeah.
invent the TVA just to keep him in the in the mix. They had to create
Well,
a whole new show for him because people are like, "Don't kill him."
Yeah,
well,
but I mean,
adding
he effectively died the same way Phil Coulson died. If you watched Agents of Shield, which I did because I loved that show, Phil Coulson lived, but he never came back to the movies. The Avengers don't know he's alive, and some people say that's not even canon. It would work if it was, but it's also kind of iffy. So we don't really know. And same thing with Loki. You could skip the Loki show, and he'd
Never
be
saw
dead.
it.
yeah.
Coming back to the original question of, is this a Thanos movie or an Avengers movie? I don't know if we explicitly said that, but we were calling this Thanos' movie, which it is, and I think you feel that. And I agree. I mean, what Ben said, it moves at a breakneck pace, and it does take our heroes out of it for the most part. And we see Thanos at more pivotal moments and the heroes reacting to that. And normally I have an issue with breakneck pace movies this movie moves quickly for about 30, 45 minutes. And I mean, Thanos is an immediately compelling villain. You want to see what he's doing next, but you also want to see how the heroes are reacting, which I think is a testament to the writing and also the story structure. I forget who you said the editor's names were, Ben, but they really did do a great job. I mean, there's no structural flaw with this film, I think, when it comes to the plot. So, and you feel it right at the beginning too, right? You see Thanos in the aftermath. You already know he can kick people's ass, and then he kills two characters that we've seen for 7 years worth of films, essentially. And
Yeah.
so you feel the gravity of the movie. And I think Thanos, even though he's not in it every frame of the film, I think you feel it, that this
Yeah,
is
his presence is always there.
but
even when he's not on screen.
Yeah,
I think
Josh
the other thing with
Brolin,
it-
man. Josh Brolin he just
he brought it.
figured this guy out and just made him, just every scene he's in is,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You want to
think
blow
the-
your mind? Go watch The Goonies afterwards.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I think the issue with it, though, one of my issues, and this is more of a Disney thing than anything, is that I think the Russo brothers had planned this movie to be 3 hours so that they could give Thanos his backstory. And I remember reading that they cut it down so that audiences wouldn't grow bored. And I wish we had gotten those extra 30 minutes of Thanos
Yeah.
backstory.
I've
So-
looked into
The
it
Russo
too,
cut.
because
We need the Russo cut.
yeah, but the Russo brothers are, like, for the most part, their MO is to not have a director's cut. There's
Yeah.
nothing, like not even the inkling of an extended version of this. I was actually surprised to find that
Same here. Yeah.
there is an encore. What are they calling it? Avengers Endgame encore that's coming pretty soon, and it's going to have a few minutes put back into it. It's to test out some kind of new verification of theaters. I didn't read the whole story. Or
Yeah, it's kind of
not
weird.
part of
It's
it.
like a new format, right, Josh? Like,
Yeah.
was
I
kind
don't
of-
think it's a new format, but like Disney is going to have some very strict benchmarks for theaters to have, and if they get this verification from if they don't get the verification from Disney, Disney won't allow Avengers Doomsday to be shown in those theaters. I think
because
that's
I
what
know
read.
they're re-releasing Endgame with
Yeah.
added scenes to have it sort of bridge into Doomsday, which is
Doomsday,
a little
yeah.
odd, but
It's weird because that's not what the Russo brothers ever do. You know, there's a lot of directors that
I'm
like
sure
to
it was not their call.
hold on to
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
definitely.
Disney
Darren-
thing.
Darren, I know I cut you off way back when I said Matthew go. So Darren, go.
Well, I know everybody's at least in this group. I completely expect Bob to kick me out of the chat here for this, but I don't quite agree or I don't quite feel as viscerally Thanos's motivations here. I get how once he says, okay, if you believe this, then everything I do logically grows out of that. I mean, that's good writing, but the premise of the universe is too crowded, like
Yeah, well,
I
he's
don't
a
Yeah,
madman.
if you step
quite
into
get
that pile, then you
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
It's like, I'm
that's why
sorry,
we know-
the nigh infinite universe is too crowded.
Yeah.
I can't get behind that one. So
Yeah,
No, we're
and
not-
the
I
whole
don't-
question
stuck with
is,
me.
why don't you make more resources? And because
Oh,
at
there
the
you
heart
go.
of his
Make a bigger
the heart of
universe.
his
I don't
being,
know.
he
Yeah.
is still a bad guy. He'd rather
Yeah.
use it to kill people than just create more resources.
Yeah,
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
I mean,
he's-
nobody.
he still had a history where right, he goes through the story of how he grew up with that, and like there
Yeah.
weren't enough resources in his own life, so he just brings that personal baggage and then makes
Yeah.
a like a holy grail about it of he's going to solve the problem for the entire universe so that
Yeah.
nobody
Well,
else
sure,
has
he's-
to ever go through what he went through.
And no
He's
villain.
projecting his trauma with the snap of a finger onto everybody else.
Yes,
That's what it is.
Yeah.
yes.
That's what it is.
And
There's a
no
whole-
good villain is the villain of his own story. They never
That's
see
true.
them. They always see it
No.
as I'm helping you, I'm serving you, or I'm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
I
why
don't
he's
know.
giving
Some
you
of the
something-
villains know that they're villains and they embrace it. So I don't
Yeah,
know if
but,
I
you
agree
know,
with
yeah,
that.
and there's
Thanos
But the
definitely
re-
is not one of those.
There-
Thanos,
Yeah.
there's
he
Thanos
definitely
is not.
sort
Yeah,
of
Thanos
yeah.
absolutely believes he's.
But
But
it
that
villain.
comes
doesn't-
from
yeah,
a
he
twisted.
does, but there's
trauma.
also a
Yeah.
Let Ben go.
mishmash.
Let Ben go ahead.
There's a big mishmash in this movie because I literally just finished it again this morning about an hour before he started this. I love his lines. I love he has respect for Stark for putting up a decent fight. I hope they remember you. He has these moments where you're like, okay, he doesn't really want to kill people he doesn't have to, but then you get lines like from from Peter Dinklage where he's like, he said, just make him a gauntlet and then he'll let us go. So we made him gauntlet, but then he killed us all anyway. So you're kind of like, wait a minute, what is he really? So is he like a messiah? So that's when people ask, like, why didn't he just
even
create
look at
more?
He's a jerk with
Why didn't he
quotable
just create more
lines.
resources
Yeah.
with the gauntlet? It's because
Well, look at
he's
what-
not that guy. He's inherently evil,
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, look at what Ebony Maw says whenever they capture someone, whenever they capture a group of people, Ebony Maw is like, rejoice. You're all about to die as children
you're
of Thanos.
Yeah.
Children, not children's.
Yeah.
Your death has a grand purpose. You're just not going to be here to see it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you guys mentioned, I want to get back to, is the whole setting of the opening scene. We come in right at the end of Ragnarok. And
Yeah.
and I mean, it's
There's
like
one thing about
like
that I was upset about.
2
Go ahead.
minutes. What were you upset about?
Well, I just kind of made a note of it, is that later on in the movie, they state specifically that half of the Asgardians survived. And we know that because in Endgame, we see them living in what used to be Tongard. Now it's New Asgard. Did I say Tongard? I don't have the right accent. I'm not from Norway. But so we know that half of them survived, but we don't see it at all. What we see in the opening scene is just everyone's decimated. Everyone's gone. And I'd like to know where the rest of them were. I mean, we saw the ship explode. So was there another ship?
I know that Tessa Thompson was shooting Creed 2. She was supposed to be in it, but she was shooting Creed 2. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
in universe, where did they go?
Well, so we come back, we get the Asgardian ship, we got Heimdall's death, we got Loki's final, Loki being his final heroic thing,
More or less.
does well, I mean, he actually does die. I mean, like Heather said, it was like, I don't know, you don't know if he does or he doesn't, and he obviously does.
He may come back, but he died. Yeah, definitely. And he died doing something noble, but right before that, he was hiding the Tesseract at Thor's pain.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, it's I really think that opening act, and then we get, Hulk gets sent, Heimdall sends him to Earth.
After
and I
getting
think
his
that,
ass handed to him.
after getting his ass kicked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, let him have his fun, and but
that's
I think
another thing that I have a lot to talk about.
Well,
I'm sorry,
I think that no, I was just going to say I'm just kind of looking at, I think the opening with on the Asgardian ship, and then him landing in Doctor Strange's
Sanctum
the
Sanctorum.
Sanctum, yeah, and Tony coming in. I mean, we've got. I'm trying to like shape the whole. We've still got broken Avengers. We've still got. Again, it comes back to that whole writing, putting the plot line together. But I didn't know. I just kind of wanted to get everybody's just, that whole right up until that opening credits when it shows the Avengers Infinity War logo and you got Bruce laying there and he's coming. Thanos is coming, right? The buildup,
That scene gave me chills because
yeah,
you're talking about Banner coming back to Earth. He's been gone since Age of Ultron. And since then, Doctor Strange got introduced a year later. So I loved that scene because you're like, wow, there's your old school first class Avengers with, this character that's been established since he was gone. And yeah, I loved it. And I love their little conversation. Can I get you a metaphysical ham on rye, at the deli because you don't know what money is or whatever. It was such a great intro. And it was a very small scale intro for blowing up the Avengers Infinity War sign. He just goes, who? It was perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And but I do have a bit of a. Oh, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Well, this is something for later on in the movie, but it's something that happens on repeat. And the only reason I'm thinking about it is because we're talking about Hulk, and that is the fact that Hulk goes away. We don't get Hulk for the remainder of the movie.
Hulk gets
we just
scared away, which is crazy.
We don't know. That's the thing. I think that might be it. Like that definitely seems like it. The evidence points to Hulk being scared.
Yeah, because he says, "Come on out." He says, "No." So
yeah, I would like to see that play out, and I was disappointed a little bit in the resolution of that being Smart Hulk in Endgame, just because we never saw Hulk work himself out, and I would have liked to see that where Hulk gets his confidence back and does.
Yeah, and the line doesn't make a lot of sense when he says, "Sorry, Tony, we've been sort of having a thing." Well, you weren't
Yeah.
because 10 minutes ago you were Hulk fighting Thanos. So how long has this thing been going on? I don't know. Yeah, that's
Right.
my one and only problem with this movie is the whole Hulk situation. I don't
That's one of my
like that they didn't
complaints.
have Hulk in it.
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
Ben.
I would
Well,
have
they
liked to
used
at
the
least
Hulk
some
exactly
kind
the
of
way they
address.
needed to.
Right.
They needed
I think
a
they
huge
need
character to fall hard and be like, everybody was
well,
like, okay,
you're
who's going to go up
100%
against
right,
it's like,
Thanos?
Aaron.
oh shit,
Hulk.
this is
Yeah.
terrible. This
They
is
nerfed
awful.
the Hulk, and then
can't
they
even do
nerfed
it.
It's the
Vision
Hulk.
because
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
too powerful.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
had
But I
to,
would've-
otherwise they would have had a shot. And you need to take that shot away in order for all the other characters. It's like a red shirt in Star Trek. It's like they have to die to
I
everybody else
definitely
to go,
agree with
"Oh,
you.
no!"
I agree with you completely. I just think by the end he should have gone back. But I know why they did it.
Yeah.
I know why they
Mm.
did what they did with
Yeah,
Vision.
I agree.
But yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh, how
definitely
cool would it have been
agree.
if you would have busted out of the Hulkbuster armor as the Hulk.
Yeah.
That would have been fucking
Yeah,
cool.
like that would have been great for them to have some kind of moment where Hulk gets his confidence back. And we get confirmation that the reason he hasn't been coming out is because he got beat up by Thanos and he like is doubting himself now. I could see it happening. And then him having his like sit down Michael Brady talk or something. I don't know how they would have
Have you
pulled
guys
that
seen
off,
the
but-
deleted scene? I'm sure we've all seen
Which
the
one?
deleted
I've
scene,
seen-
right?
I haven't.
Was there
No.
one related to the
it's
Hulk?
basically Banner in the Hulkbuster. Right after he sends the one guy off, he's fighting one of those big
Obsidian,
alien guys.
Call Obsidian.
Yeah, he's fighting that guy and he beats him. And then he's like, he's talking to Hulk and Hulk keeps coming in and out. And then you see, I think Black Widow shows up and then she sees the smart Hulk. He's like, "Hey, Nat." And she's like, "Whoa, this is weird." So they intended to show it in that
They
movie. I
tried to
think they
bridge
should
it.
have.
Okay.
I think they should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we did get, that's the one thing that annoys me because I would have liked to see a resolution to Hulk either just not being able to come out or being too scared to come out or whatever, whatever it was, for them to work past it and to have a resolution to that where he does, come out and it's him in the end.
Instead of him just
Narratively, I think
eating
it's a
pancakes in
horrible-
the next movie, and that's our
Right.
introduction to him.
Yeah.
I don't like the decision that we took Hulk out because if Banner was going to die, the Hulk would come out. And there's multiple points in this movie where Banner would have died. Like Hulk wouldn't have just been like, "Okay, I'm going to die too."
Yeah.
I don't
point.
know.
Mm.
That's really
Well, that just
frustrating.
Yeah,
shows
the
how
self-preservation
traumatized Hulk
part I thought
was.
was going to kick it in. Yeah,
It's not a split personality. At least
But
it
Hulk
wasn't.
was making a
before.
bad decision by not Banner is the weak one. So for Hulk to hide inside Banner is a bad choice in a battle for both
Yeah.
of them.
Coming back to it again, we get the opening credits. We still have the Tony and Steve issue.
Mhm.
We get Steve doing his own thing. I know I see it a lot on social media. People use it for memes, like when Steve first appears when they're fighting with Vision. I think one of the
Which is
things
way
that
down, like a lot has
What?
happened by the time Steve shows up too. I was just
Sure,
pointing out,
but-
like a lot of
Right.
time passes.
but I just kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of just this buildup. So you've got, the ship lands. We've got, it's New York again. And, we've got Doctor Strange. You get Spider-Man, who happens to be on a field trip over there, which I thought was, was a pretty
Convenient.
nifty way
Field
to
trip to
get
MoMA.
him in there. But kind of wanted
Stanley.
to talk a little bit about,
Stanley is the bus driver.
I thought the scene where, they're all looking out the window and Tony's like, "Are you making your hair move right now?" And it's just this, people are running, the wind is blowing, and it's like something dramatic is going to happen.
Well, that was their
And,
Jurassic
I
I
love
feel
that
like whole
Strange
scene-
goes, "Not at
Cup.
the moment."
watery
Yeah,
cup.
It was
exactly.
great because we just saw them destroy Thor's ship. And you kind of have this feeling, now he's going to regroup. He's going to make his next plan and then they're going to strike. But no, it's like 5 minutes later and they're here.
Yeah,
Even Tony is like,
yeah,
"What's
it
the
comes-
timeline on this?" And they're like, "I don't know." And then they're there.
Yeah.
Wait, how
Yeah,
did
they weren't
Thanos
messing
know that there
around
were
when
two
Thanos
stones
said,
on Earth?
"Go to Earth and get the stones." They came right afterwards.
Wait,
and
who
the giddiness
told
I
Thanos
had
they were on
was-
Earth?
I'm sorry, who was talking? Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Aaron.
I was going to say, who told Thanos that there were two stones on Earth? The Time Stone and...
Well, he's been searching for
Uh,
them for a while. I don't remember if they said how he knows.
Well, he
but-
knew that the scepter was there because he gave Loki the scepter to mind control people, and then the scepter turned into Vision. I
he
don't
just
know
didn't
how he knows about the
know
Eye of
that it was a
Agamotto.
vision.
Probably just because that's where it's been for thousands of
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably has known about that.
But I was
I get the
so giddy,
impression.
like a kid going up on his first roller coaster. Like when you see Tony Stark talking to Stephen Strange, you're just
Yeah.
so happy. You're like, oh, because I've been waiting for these two to like meet and clash, and it didn't disappoint. It was so funny,
Oh, yeah.
so perfect. Like yeah. So
Did
great.
you seriously just say hitherto unmentioned?
Or
Are you
unheard of.
seriously leaning on the cauldron of the cosmos?
Protecting your
Yeah, I
reality,
thought-
douchebag.
Embarrassing me
mean,
in front of the
yeah.
wizards.
Battle of the egos. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk about, the location. I mean, then we've got them on Earth. They had just come from Asgard, and it's like, as I said, it's like there's always one of the major characters gets sent to the other location, and then that's where the stuff happens there. So like Bruce shows up, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he hadn't seen Tony in a while, and then suddenly we're there out with the Guardians of the Galaxy because they're going to the distress call.
Space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Guardians
into
distress call. Yeah.
space. And I thought that whole scene with Thor was, when they find Thor, I thought that was hilarious. Again,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like they melded everything together really well. So you still had like the comedy that the Guardians of the Galaxy movies have been known for, and they're like, when they're
The
commenting
comedy
on Thor, they're
and the
like,
music.
he's
'cause
not-
that is
Forgot
a
how funny
banger
that
of a
scene
song.
was. I totally forgot how
he's like,
funny
that's
that
not a
scene was.
man. Yeah, he's like,
But even
even
the
Drax
intro-
is like,
But
Yeah.
even the intro is so perfect because, first of all, it just says space. Like we don't know. But on top of that, they pick such a great song, Rubber Band Man by the Spinners.
Rubber Man, right?
Rubber
Rubber
Band
Band.
Man.
Rubber Band Man, yeah.
Rubber
yeah.
Band Man
But-
by the Spinners.
Bob, you were talking. One of your points in your notes was what do you remember the most when you saw it for the first time?
right.
The crowd erupted so many times when I saw it, but when
Yeah.
when it said space and you knew it was going to be a Guardian,
Everyone
scene,
knew. Yeah.
It was insane how crazy
Mhm.
people were. I mean, obviously Thor showing up on Wakanda was maybe the biggest cheer I've ever heard in my life in a movie theater, but when you get the Guardians, people were going nuts. I remember that
Yeah.
specifically. Yeah.
No, Heather,
Nothing?
Okay, I'll go ahead and go.
Nothing new.
I love the pairings that they
Suplex.
did. I don't think you realize on the initial watch how perfect they paired these groups up together. We already talked about Tony, Peter, and Stephen Strange, and then the Hulk. But then the Hulk ends up with Captain America after that scene. I do like. There's moments in this film, obviously in the finale, but there's moments in this film where there's an absence of soundtrack and it's just sound effects. And when you hear like the low whirring sound of the spaceship outside of
Yeah.
the sanctum, you know that
donut.
you're like, oh, damn, that's going to be crazy. And then that led to a really great fight. And again, the plotting in this movie and the way it flows is just nearly flawless. And then it jumps to the Guardians of the Galaxy at the perfect moment because you watch Iron Man and Spider-Man go off into space to chase Stephen Strange, and then bam, you're in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I like that this movie doesn't spend a whole lot of time on Earth. It's you're in space pretty quickly. So I do like that Thor got to pair up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like his deadpan humor, I guess we'll call it for this movie, because he's kind of solemn compared to Ragnarok, matches or I guess contrasts with their spunky humor, their slapsticky type of comedy. So I really think the pairings that they did, like I said, were just great for this movie. And
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't appreciate it as much, the first time seeing it. It was just like everything's coming at you from all directions. But yeah,
Yeah.
on the rewatch, I could appreciate, the different groups that they put
Mhm.
together.
Because you're watching a scene and you're like, wow, I never thought Rocket Raccoon and Thor would be on a mission
Yeah.
together. This is insane.
Yeah.
The rabbit
And
is
it worked.
correct.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and but it worked because, Rocket always likes to do that stuff. Again, we're talking about playing into, these characters that have already been established, and that would be something Rock would want to do. He's always like inventing and tinkering, and it's like, hey, we're going to go to this magical place that,
Yeah,
I
would
didn't even know
very
it
much
existed.
like to go.
Yeah,
I really
get a
want to.
very
I really
special
want to
weapon.
see that. And I think that was, yeah, I thought that was, I don't want to say a unique pairing, but it just worked. I mean, it worked for what it was with that whole thing. And I think
And
that,
Matthew-
well, Matthew was, I think he was the one who said it, like, or Ben, you said it when or whoever it was said when Thor, appeared, and it was just like boom, and the theater erupted, right? I think,
Yeah, yeah.
in a way, I had one of those things in my there. Is it Thor kind of the, is he the, kind of the MVP of Infinity War by the time you get to the end, even though he didn't go for the head, but he's definitely, definitely the rock star, no pun
Yeah,
intended.
he
with
was my
regard to his
favorite
music.
character. He's my favorite character in
Yeah,
this movie. Yeah.
yeah, and I think
And that's the first
and
time
that's
I've ever said that about Thor. So.
yeah,
But
yeah.
something
Well, and
Matthew
it's
said that
First and last.
but something that you also brought up, Matthew, that I do note was I do love that sound design. It's like sound design is not something that usually pops out at me. I don't really think about it. But that
Nor should you.
whirring of well, yeah, you're not really supposed to. But there's certain sounds in movies that you remember. I love that sound design when you hear those flying donuts and the soundtrack. There's no music for a few minutes, for a few seconds, and you just hear that whirring sound, and it's not quite earthly. Like it doesn't sound like a normal whir. It's got that like
Mhm.
really deep hum to it,
Yeah.
and that's something that I took note of.
Yeah. The other thing too I wanted to mention, coming back to Thanos, is the whole Thanos Gamora relationship. I mean, that was kind of Thanos. That's where, in his definition of love, like the Red Skull who's there on Vormir is, he says it. He's like, we can't feel love, and it's like, well, he feels it. I mean, his version of it, and
Yeah,
I
it's a
think that
twisted love, but
it's a twisted love, but it's still, obviously it still counts,
yeah,
because he ends up getting the Soul Stone.
yeah. The Soul Stone is very, very open minded.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was, we get, she's explaining it to Peter, and she's like, I need you to basically unalive me, if he gets if he needs to find out where it is and that type of thing. And I think that culminates, or not culminates, but it's a huge part of, where we see Thanos kind of his emotional core in his point of it and what he thinks. So
Let her
I didn't
go,
know,
Grimace.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Titan killing
So,
long-term booty call.
yeah, right.
I don't know.
But
As terrible as Thanos is, I think I was convinced that somewhere buried in there, he genuinely had a love for Gamora as a daughter. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do think that he does. It's just it's a twisted sort of love. It's not,
And Mantis kind of verified that with her mind meld thing later.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel grief. Yeah.
I had a few complaints I wanted to call out. Just because I don't want to gush all over this movie, I do think there are flaws with it. Namely, that Thanos should have kept his armor on. I don't like the wife beater look throughout the whole movie.
Ah.
I get why it
yeah.
is, because he didn't need it, and that was to show his strength that he didn't need his armor. But I thought he looked better in it, and I feel like the Black Order was severely underdeveloped. I know
I did take note. I did make a note of that, and I was going to bring
Who's
it
the
up
Black
earlier
Order?
because we were
the Ebony Maw.
his Ebony Maw.
Oh, I thought those were the
Obsidian.
children of Thanos.
Yeah, the children of Thanos, but they're actually
they
called the
are,
Black
but
Order.
they actually have a name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually
I
marked that
I didn't
down
even
when,
know they had their own name. So
Yeah,
so
when
yeah,
we
that was
actually-
underdone apparently.
when someone forgot the name of Obsidian, was it you, Matthew, and I, or was it Ben?
No, it was Ben.
Someone forgot the name, and I said it was Obsidian, and I was going to bring up then. That's one thing I would have liked them to do, is to give them, like, to actually name drop them so that audience would know who they are.
He does name drop the Maw, and
He name drops the Maw, but not the others.
not the
Yeah.
others. We know it's
Corvus
Proxima.
Glaive,
Yeah,
Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Glaive, they're married,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that hardly matters. Obsidian is the big one, and then Ebony Maw is.
I'm not asking for
Yeah,
like
I
a
had no
whole-
idea. I think they shortchanged, was it the Warriors 3 they did, and
Well, that was in Thor
Steve Rogers
Ragnarok.
people too. I mean, like I think that they've done that with those side groups a bit in
the
general.
Howling Commandos. Yeah.
Yes, the
They've
Howling
done it
Command.
before.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think-
they have a history of that, but go ahead.
I think the Black Order played a larger role in the villainy of this film, right? And
Yeah.
we don't even know their names, minus Ebony Maw, and he's the most formidable, right? The other
And they
three
never
are
even say
getting their
Ebony
ass
Maw.
kicked
They
to 'em.
just
they just call him the Maw.
him Maw. But like, yeah, Proxima Midnight has a few prominent lines where she's speaking to the Avengers,
And they're not.
and no
they're-
one ever says that she's Proxima Midnight.
They're not. They're
So
not.
I'm a subtitle watching person, So I knew Ebony Maw, the full name, just from some of the subtitles. I don't think they even had the subtitles of the other ones' names at any point.
That's interesting.
So, but I can't verify that for sure, but I don't remember anyone else's name being shown on the screen.
I mean, they're there
Anyway,
with
continue.
Thanos at the start, and I just wish they had gotten, not necessarily more screen time, but I wish they had been made more formidable.
they had
being
gotten-
children,
especially
children of Thanos.
especially Squidward.
Squidward.
Yeah.
They
Ebony
were
Maw.
awesome, and
Yeah,
they had unique designs. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
I know the Warriors 3 and the Howling Commandos are like comic book based, and but the Black
Well, so are
Order
the
is
Black
too.
Order.
But it's like they have notable screen time to the point where it's like, okay, what's that person called again? I don't know. It's just one of my.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think they were crucial to this because it divided all those battles. Like you had Thanos over here, but then you had the other ones over here. I think that was essential to, you know, it was almost like an extension of the villain in the movie. Like
They
Yeah,
were
I
they
agree.
were
needed to
part
be
of
there
each-
in order to have all these different locations going on at the same time and things.
Yeah,
Right.
they were a crucial part of each set piece and each battle that ensued throughout the
Yeah.
movie.
I,
So
I
I
wish
would've
Ma, I
liked
wish
it-
Ma would have
Yeah.
lasted longer because he was so menacing, and the actor that did Ebony Maw was just brilliant. Like he was just all over
Yeah.
the place. Just like he had no fear. Like he's just throwing
Yeah.
those cars aside, and you're like, man, this guy is legit. And then he just gets blown out of an air shaft, which is kind of funny. You know, aliens. I get it.
If he's
but
got
yeah.
telekinesis,
Yeah.
you'd think he'd be able to telekinetic himself back
Yeah,
in through
right.
the hole. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If
but
Princess
I
Leia could
definitely
do it,
would've
he could
liked
do
to
it.
I
I was
definitely
going to
would
say
have
that,
liked
Telekinetic.
to
Darin.
see.
Covers himself in rocks and then goes back
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to see at least some kind of names for these characters because, because so many people won't even know like Proxima Midnight. And she was played by
Yeah.
Carrie Coon.
I don't.
Yeah, she was voiced by Carrie. It's Carrie Boone, right?
Carrie Coon.
Carrie Coon. Yeah, from The Leftovers. Yeah, she was
Yep.
great.
And she was in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
But those were just a couple things I wanted to point out. I don't know.
I do want to real quickly to the audience. I just want to say we're gonna hold here and we're gonna like kind of wrap this up and see you next week because we don't want to keep you here for hours on end. We have lots to talk about with this movie. So if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, make tomorrow better than yesterday.